What's going on, everybody? AJ Riley here with the corner from Detroit Sports Nation, ready to talk some Tigers baseball because regardless of how they play on the field, we still love this team. They are frustrating as can be. This series was terrible with the Chicago White Sox, and we're going to get to that. But we're here. And maybe this can be a little bit of a therapy session for all of us just to get some things off of our chest because we are now 62 games into this season and they're bad. They're a bad baseball team. They really are. In all aspects, and we're going to get to a lot of numbers tonight because I just have been looking through the numbers to see what this team has. And my goodness, they are not great. Probably the worst team in baseball, actually. And I know that sounds doom and gloom. I feel like for all the propping up that I've done over the last 7 episodes of this show, trying to have this cautious optimism, this series really made me step back and look at this team. And so I just want to get into it. Right before we get going, I do want to remind you to make sure that you like and subscribe to our Facebook, to our YouTube, to our Twitter, to our TikTok, to our Instagram, where you can get exclusive DSN, Detroit Sports Nation content. Hit that and subscribe and bell button on YouTube so you can see all of our shows. Maybe you're a basketball fan. You want to keep up with the NBA Finals. We got throwing stones for you. Maybe you like to analyze things from a big picture perspective. We have a show called The Big Picture. So make sure that you're checking that out because we have something for everybody. This is The Corner, so we talk specifically about the Detroit Tigers. And let's talk about what they did these last 3 games against the Chicago White Sox. First, they were swept at home by a division rival. That's not great at all. But they weren't just swept. They were put in their place by a team that had come in losing 11 out of their last 17. A team whose manager walked a player in a 1-2 count and gave him a free base intentionally. This is the team that came into Detroit and said, nope, you're still worse than we are. Outscored them 27-6 in 3 games. It was so bad on Wednesday afternoon, the Detroit Tigers didn't even use their bullpen after the 6th inning and had Harold Castro, Cody Clemens, and Tucker Barnhart all throw 1 inning each using position players to pitch because it wasn't worth it to expend the efforts of the bullpen any further. And it was really disappointing. 14 strikeouts in Game 2. Terrible baseball. They lost Monday night 9-5. Then they turn around and lose 5-1 on Tuesday. And then 13-0 on Wednesday. And it was just brutal. And I think this is who they are, unfortunately. A team that's probably not going to sniff 500 because in every aspect of the game this week against the White Sox, they were bad. They didn't have a pitcher go longer than 4 innings. Our starting pitchers gave the Tigers 11 innings over 3 games. They didn't even average 4 innings for the series. It was brutal. It was bad. It was terrible. Faedo got roughed up Wednesday. First time, okay? We can maybe give him a pass because he was bound to have a clunker at some point, like Scuba was against the Blue Jays. I get that. Drew Hutchinson called up to make a bullpen start on Tuesday. And Ronnie Garcia, not great either. Monday, it was just bad. It was just bad. And when the bullpen came in, they weren't much better. But I think that this is who the Tigers are, and I told you that we would get to some numbers, so let's look at these numbers. I like statistics because I watch the games and I analyze what I see based on what the eye test, but the numbers really drill stuff down for us. And the Tigers, to nobody's surprise, have the worst offense in all of baseball. They have the worst metric when it comes to weighted runs created, which is a stat that takes into all accounts how they produce runs. Because guess what? You need runs to win baseball games. And guess what the Tigers don't do? They don't score runs. They have a 72 weighted runs created as a team, which is 28% lower than the MLB average at 100. That's how bad this offense is. But it gets worse. They have a 24.3% strikeout rate, which is fifth worst in the MLB. They have a 6.6% walk rate, which is second worst in the MLB. And then when we talk about when they do put the ball in play, they have a .097 isolated power metric, which is the worst in MLB. It is something that takes singles out of the equation and just measures how a team produces extra base hits, and what that metric says is the Tigers don't hit for extra base hits. They had 12 hits in Game 1. 2 of them were for extra base hits. They had 9 hits in Game 2. 1 of them was for extra bases. They had a grand total of 4 hits in Game 3. 0 for extra bases. They have 31 home runs as a team. Aaron Judge has 24 by himself. And if you think that it could be like, maybe they run the bases, nope. Worst base running team in the majors metrically. Negative 10.7 BSR, which is a weighted base running category that determines how they add runs to their ledger based on the way that they run, taking into stolen bases, caught stealing, taking extra bases, all the good base running metrics. They're the worst team in baseball, actually costing themselves about 10.7 runs over the course of the season. And like we said, this series, the pitching wasn't any better. They were just bad. Could not put the White Sox away with 2 outs. And you got to give the White Sox credit. Look, the White Sox did exactly what they're supposed to do when you play a team that's worse than you. You step on their throat and tell them that they don't match up. And they did. The White Sox offensively, with 2 outs, scored half of their runs for the series with 2 outs. 13 out of their 27, so just a little bit less than half. With 2 outs. 4 out of 9 runs in the Game 1 were with 2 outs. 3 out of 5 runs in Game 2. 4 out of 9 in Game 1 were with 2 outs. 3 out of 5 in Game 2 were with 2 outs. And you would think, oh, Wednesday, they just knocked the ball out of the park. Yeah, they scored 13 runs. They probably were getting those well before 2 outs. Nope. Almost half of their runs on Wednesday came with 2 outs. 6 out of those 13 runs they scored on Wednesday were with 2 outs. The pitching could not put this offense away. And I'm telling you what, and I said this to one of my friends earlier, this team just did the White Sox a huge favor. This team came in struggling, had won 6 out of the last 17 games. We have already mentioned that. And we just told them, guess what? You're a pretty good ball team. Guess what? You can hit the ball. Yoan Moncada hadn't homered in 23 games. Guess what he did in the first inning on Wednesday? Hit a 3-run homer with 2 outs. We gave them the opportunity to just prove to themselves that they should be the best team in the AL Central, and we let them get out of Detroit with a lot of confidence, and that is now going to be a scary team. They got Joe Kelly back in the bullpen, even though Liam Hendricks is on the 15-day IL. That Tim Anderson's going to be coming back at some point. That team is going to be getting very good very shortly, and probably going to use this series, this sweep of the Detroit Tigers, as a way to jumpstart this season and become the potential contender that they are. And they have no one else to thank but the Detroit Tigers, who just basically gift-wrapped them a 3-game series and said, yeah, we don't want it. Just go ahead. Just walk out of Detroit with 3 wins under your belt. We're not even going to really be competitive. Now, the Tigers had opportunities, sure, and Game 1 really took a turn. Probably left Ronnie in a little bit too long in that 5th inning, but still, just non-competitive baseball is what these last 3 games were. So we take a breath, and we try to move on because baseball is a long season. And the Tigers are welcoming in a team in the Texas Rangers who are, I would say, they were a better team coming in than the White Sox at this point, just record-wise, right? They're 29-33 as they sit right now. But this is a team that can run the bases. This is a team that, as far as that weighted runs category goes, they are just slightly below MLB average at about 3% below average, 97 weighted runs created. So it's going to, again, be a very tall task for a Tigers team that has lost 4 straight, has an incredibly, we're talking hanging on by the skin of their teeth, pitching staff, who stood on their head and have done a great job. And I know that over the course of this show, I've talked and I've said that I'm not necessarily too worried about the offense because water does find its level. The numbers are making me regret those words a little bit. So as a man that owns up to what he says, I have to say maybe I was wrong. But when I look at this pitching staff that stood on its head, literally hanging on by the skin of its teeth, and really the only reason why the Tigers have been competitive, it's thinning out, and it's getting dangerously thin. We've seen when starters can't give us 5-6 innings, we don't stand a chance. And one of the more concerning things for me is when I'm watching a game and it's the first inning, and the other team scores first, the opposing team scores first, you almost get this sense of deflation. Like, here we go again. You don't see the team claw back. You don't see them grind out at bats and get runners on and move runners over and push across runs to make the game competitive. And that's concerning. So hopefully, when they play the Texas Rangers this weekend in a 4-game set, hopefully they take some pride in what they've been doing. Hopefully they take some pride in the fact that they're Major League Baseball players living out every little boy's dream in America and make the best use of the time that they have. Because they've got a team that's coming in that's susceptible. The team can run the bases. They're the best base running team in baseball. If we talk about the Tigers' BSR being negative 10.7, right, they've literally lost almost 11 runs on the base pass. The Rangers have added about 13 runs over the course of 62 games on the base pass. That's a good base running team. They lead the major leagues in stolen bases. So our defense has to be ready. Our defense has to be fundamental. The Tigers' defense has to be ready to play come Thursday. Probable starters for this weekend, and of course always subject to change, but toeing the rubber on Thursday is going to be Martin Perez for Texas versus Bo Brisky for the Tigers. And look, we talk about a pitching staff that's hanging on by the skin of their teeth. Bo Brisky has been exactly what we've needed him to be. He's come in, he's given them innings. Yeah, he's given up a lot of home runs, but Tarek Skubal gave up a ton of home runs last year. Alex Faedo is giving up home runs, but you know what? They're doing they are literally solidifying the starting rotation. One of the youngest starting rotations in all of baseball, don't forget right now. On Friday, John Gray came over from the Rockies to the Texas Rangers. He's going to square off against Tarek Skubal, who's going to look to rebound big time, and he's going to need to rebound big time. Hopefully, he's toeing the rubber with the opportunity to get the Tigers on a little bit of a winning streak, 2 games. Hopefully he's not breaking a 5-game losing streak. But you got to feel good Friday night with Skubal coming back, looking to rebound after a rather un-Skubal-esque outing against the Blue Jays last Sunday. On Saturday, Taylor Hearn is going to be toeing the rubber for the Rangers against Ronnie Garcia, which could potentially be back-to-back bullpen days with Ronnie Garcia going Saturday, and then on Sunday, Drew Hutchinson is going to get the start again against Dane Dunning for the Rangers. It's a 4-game series. Look, they have 7 games this week. They've already lost 3 of them. They need to win 3 out of 4 against the Rangers to give any sliver of hope, any crack in the door of hope that is slightly ajar right now, just to keep it there, they need to win 3 out of these 4 games. And it's not going to be easy. They're going to have to grind. They're going to have to move runners up and play fundamental defense and grind out at bats and take pitches. In Game 2 against the White Sox, Willie Castro saw something like, I forget, it was like an average of 6 pitches per at bat, which is great. He struck out 3 times, which is not great, but at least he saw pitches. We need more guys down the lineup seeing pitch when you can be aggressive, but at a certain point, you start to make too many mistakes being aggressive, and it's no longer acceptable. So you got to find a way to grind out these at bats. You got to find a way to finish out this homestand with 3 wins out of 4, and it's going to be a tall task. You got a pretty tall task. You got to definitely keep the Rangers off the base pass because they will put pressure on your defense. Which, when you have a rather lackadaisical fundamental defense, when a team puts pressure on them, it gets exacerbated and the errors occur. So hopefully the Tigers this weekend can redeem themselves a little bit against the Texas Rangers. They can look to rebound and hopefully take 3 out of 4 from the Rangers. Look, a split would be acceptable. Anything less than a split, and it's start planning for the number 1 overall pick, is basically where we're at in this season. We'll be at 66 games come Sunday, and if they have not won 2 of those 4 from the Rangers, I'd start looking at, well, what's the draft class for next year look like? Because there's no way it turns around. Which brings me to the final point. My final segment for tonight. And that segment is this. We've been lied to as fans. If you remember back to the beginning of the 2022 baseball season, there was hope. There was a belief that building off of a 77 and 85 season in 2021, a team that played with swagger, a team that always felt like they were in the game even if they came up short. We've been lied to. And we've been lied to by the man in charge. Because there was an interview that was done where the owner of the Detroit Tigers was asked, is the rebuild over? And his answer, 100% yes. I got news for you. If the rebuild's over, why do we have the worst offense in baseball? Why do we have a pitching staff that is thin to the point of breaking, snapping, as highlighted by this series in Chicago, or with Chicago? We've been lied to, and we deserve better. The Tigers have some of the best fans in all of baseball, but yet this is the product that this rebuild has gotten us? This is the product that we have to look forward to if the rebuild is over? That's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And we talk about them taking pride in being a Major League Baseball player. How about we take pride in putting a Major League Baseball team on the field? Look, after this 3-game series, somebody should be looking for a new job. You can blame Hinch, okay? He can only do what he can do with what he's been given. You could blame the hitting coach, Chris Coolball, but again, he can only do what he can do with who he's been given. There's one person responsible for this roster. There's one person that started a rebuild by trading a very hot commodity in J.D. Martinez for 3 players, one of whom was 18 and is still very low in the minor leagues, and 2 others who aren't even in baseball anymore, or who have bounced around a lot, no longer with the Tigers. A guy who traded the face of our franchise, Justin Verlander, for a couldn't miss right-handed pitcher who missed. For a right fielder in Daz Cameron, who unfortunately was playing well and then landed on the COVID list. But he hasn't been a world beater. And for a catching prospect that hopefully can build on what he did last year, and yes, he went down with an injury, so the verdict's still out on him a little bit. But you got to point the finger at a guy who traded all of these assets, unloaded all of these assets. And what do we have to show for him? What we have to show for him is a roster that's built and has the worst offense in all of baseball. I've been stewing on this. If you can't tell, I've been stewing on this for a while. And there was a point in time when I hosted a show with my buddy called Straight Shootin' that I said we need to tap the brakes and see on this Alavila thing how things have worked out. Guess what? I ain't tapping the brakes anymore. If this is the product that this arduous and painful rebuild has brought us, it's unacceptable. And Alavila, that lies squarely on your shoulders. And Chris Ilitch, you allowed it. Maybe you don't know what you're doing. I don't know. I don't want to sit here and judge from a position because I'm not in your seat, but I know that this product that is on the field right now is entirely unacceptable, and the fans of the Detroit Tigers deserve better. So, Alan, Chris, here's my final word. Do better. Be better. Because this is entirely unacceptable. Now, it's time to sign off. This is the corner. We have 4 games with the Rangers coming up. And hopefully, we can keep that creak in the door of hope open just a little bit longer. 4 games, tune in. It's Tigers baseball. This is the corner. I'm AJ Riley. We'll see you on Sunday, which is Father's Day. So hopefully, you fathers that are watching have a great and happy Father's Day. But we'll see you again before the next series here on The Corner.
Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a